Boom, Warren, it's cover 2 time, and we're celebrating a 49ers wild card victory. They're going to be playing the Cowboys. We got to talk a little bit about Seahawks, and then we'll transition into Cowboys. And when I say a little, it's going to be a little. But this is going to be a great one. Enjoy it. Nice, nothing but smiles after a second half of the 49ers absolutely put it down on their rivals.
Yeah, like I said, like I always say, podcast is always best after wins. Especially playoff wins. Playoff wins don't come around too often.
11 in a row.
We got one against our one of our major rivals, so it's definitely sweet.
Yeah, it is. And the 49ers are rolling. I mean, Brock Purdy's been rolling. The 49ers have been rolling. Just, it was an interesting matchup because you have teams that know each other, right? And everyone was really concerned during the week. This is going to be the third time that the 49ers were going to see the Seahawks. This was going to be the second time the Seahawks had saw young Brock Purdy. And then there was also the rain factor. How was that going to play into it? Early on, you could tell there's probably a little bit of nerves, a little bit of weather that was affecting Brock Purdy. But for every miss that he had, like the opening throw to Deebo Samuel, there was a huge throw, like the 19-yarder on the next play to Brandon Ayuk. It seemed like he was battling, finding his way, and he just consistently made plays. And the 49ers, Warren, were down 17-16, but in the second half, absolutely just came out and blew the Seahawks out of the water.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first half of that game was, if you're a Niner fan, I mean, you was worried. And hats off to Seattle. I give credit to Seattle. Seattle came out prepared. Pete Carroll had his team ready to play. They had a game plan. They executed it in the first half. They took a little bit of they took bits and pieces of what we've seen the past 3 weeks.
Right.
They got Metcalf involved, and Geno played well in that first half. The Niners can't have lows like that. You can't have halves like that in playoff football. It's just every snap, every down is vital, but I think a lot played into it. Like you said, I think there were some nerves and stuff like that. But once the Niners settled in, we got in the locker room, Shanahan got to talk to the boys, and we came back in the second half and looked like the team that we expected to see that whole game.
Yeah, I mean, as far as offense, they were pretty consistent the entire game. They moved the football very well. They just didn't convert touchdowns in the first half. In the second half, they did. When you throw in 2 turnovers by Seattle, the interception by Geno Smith, and of course the Charles Omenihu forced fumble, a forced strip sack, they call it. It's a sack once you get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. Bosa gets on it, and the 49ers turn it into a touchdown. And pretty soon, that thing was just steamrolling out of control. And I think that's the 49ers that everyone's afraid of, right? The 49ers that can put up 41 points on you, absolutely blow you out of the water. And that's what these other teams are going to have to contend with. That's what is coming up for the Cowboys, this Sunday. And a lot of the reason why, Warren, that this is happening is because of Brock Purdy, and he continues to shine. I want to discuss Brock Purdy a little bit because this was a guy that it was in his first game in the playoffs. He's a rookie quarterback. Everyone keeps saying every single week there's some sort of qualifier, right? This was now the first time he was going to win in the playoffs. There's already been first win on the road, first win in primetime. There's always a qualifier, and he just continues to do his expectations, what people think he's going to do. And I thought he did so in this game. 3 touchdowns, passing, 1 rushing the football, 4 touchdowns for Brock Purdy, and he's implying you could drop away from 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, man, he just continues to impress. I mean, you watch this kid week after week, and you're telling yourself, like, what can he not do?
Right.
And it just gets more impressive. I mean, this is his first playoff game, and as a rookie, you would think he would struggle. He'd be nervous. And, in the first half, he really didn't play bad, but he didn't play to the level we've seen him playing. And just the way he came out in the second half, and he inserted his dominance on the game, and his confidence and his will. It's just special, and like what we're watching as the season goes on and what we're seeing with Purdy is just, it's nothing short of special. You know what I mean? Like, this is stuff that, you pay for at the movies and you go and see, he's writing his own storybook right now. And if you're a Niner fan, you love to see it. I mean, like, this is what, we've been striving for is a number 1 quarterback.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a franchise quarterback. And right now we're watching the makings of one. Like, this is his story. And I can't wait to see how it ends. You know what I mean? But right now I'm loving the ride. But Brock Purdy, man, he's just, each week, man, he just impresses me. And like some of the plays he's making, like the play at the end of the game, I know it wasn't completed to Brandon Ayuk, but I mean, even if you're not a Niner fan and you're watching that,
Right.
you have to be wide-eyed. You have to be like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, special quarterbacks make that type of play. You know, I mean, like, I'm so hurt for him and Ayuk that he dropped it, but man, it shows how special he is. It shows the talent.
Yeah, it's something you would have saw from Joe and Steve and maybe Jeff Garcia. Like, those are the kind of quarterbacks that be able to do what Brock Purdy did on that play. I think the thing that stands out the most about Brock Purdy is, Kyle Shanahan's scheme, it can get players wide open. You know what Brock does when they're wide open? He finds them, which is spectacular. And then when it comes to the moments where the plays don't work, the defense had the right, defense dialed up, he improvises and he makes something happen. That first touchdown to Christian McCaffrey, his first ever playoff touchdown, is off schedule, him climbing the pocket, finding McCaffrey wide open, who ran the play action fake earlier, and getting a walk-in touchdown. And that's not the only time that happened. He also did that with Elijah Mitchell on that play. Moved around in the pocket, got away from the defender who had pushed Trent Williams back a little bit, finds Elijah Mitchell, touchdown. But then there's also the plays where you see him on time, where he hits Deebo Samuel in rhythm and allows Deebo to run. And of course, Brandon Ayuk makes a great play, but you're getting the best of both worlds. And one of the most interesting things was when Kyle Shanahan drafted Trey Lance, he said he got Trey to operate within this offense. It wasn't going to be anything different. It was going to be within his offense. But when all hell broke loose and a play wasn't going to work, he could make something happen. That's what he got with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is doing that. Is he as big or as fast, as strong as Trey Lance? Absolutely not. Is he a really good quarterback, though, that can pull it off? Absolutely he is.
I agree. And I think you make two great points. I mean, the off-schedule thing, and like you said, in Shanahan's offense, any quarterback can operate it because he has guys running wide open. And that's what you've seen with Jimmy G. Jimmy G would operate within the offense. He did a fairly good job of finding open guys. But you insert Purdy, and Purdy does those off-script plays. And that's what's so vital to this team. That's the missing link of this team. And that's, in my opinion, has hindered us from getting over the top.
Yep.
And when you get in those big games like against the Chiefs or Buffalo or even this Dallas Cowboys game or Philadelphia, like where you're looking downfield and everything's covered up, and then the rush is bearing down on you, can you still make a play? And Purdy, he doesn't flinch.
Yep.
Like you said, the pass that he made to Elijah Mitchell in the flats, the pressure was bearing down on him. How many quarterbacks have we seen in the past just get happy feet and panic and, throw a pick, make a mistake, take the sack, don't throw it away? He looked it dead in its eye, made a play, dumped it off for a touchdown. Like, those are signs of, a mature quarterback, a franchise quarterback. That's what we need in this offense, and that's what has Niner fans so excited.
Yeah, he's literally the happy medium of Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. More mobility than Jimmy Garoppolo, yet he can throw the timing passes and hit people in stride, which Jimmy did fantastic. Not quite as quick a release as Jimmy, but pretty darn good. And then the escapability, the improvisation of Trey Lance. It has been a nice pickup, and I'm not trying to say he's the greatest quarterback in franchise history or any of that stuff. All I'm saying is we found a quarterback that can operate Kyle Shanahan's offense at a high level, and he's showing that every single week, and I can't wait to see the continued growth from Brock Purdy and what he could do in this offense. And I got to say this to my guy, Chris Sims. It's laughable that you called him a poor man's Mac Jones. Absolutely laughable.
Wow.
Mac Jones wishes he could be BCB Brock Purdy. There's just nothing about it. Get off it. You thought Kellen Mond was a top 5. He's not. So I can't believe he said that. But it just makes me question his quarterback breakdown.
Absolutely.
For sure.
What's he looking at?
I don't know. And now it's time to look at the boys. 49ers versus Cowboys. I mean, if you grew up in a certain era of 49ers football, and a lot of people don't realize this goes back to the 70s. The 49ers had really, really good football teams in the 70s, and the Cowboys kept them out of the championship games. Then in the 80s, the 49ers got over the hump, and then the 90s, they came back with a vengeance. Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, Emmitt Smith, and that whole crew. So this is a rivalry that's been decades old, and it's been renewed. Last year, they beat Dak. They beat a really good Cowboy team that had Amari Cooper. And this year they don't. But it's going to be a fun matchup. There's a lot of players, and whenever you start playing teams multiple years, you start building those storylines within it, right? When the 49ers played Seahawks, every year on the regular season, and then Green Bay in the playoffs, it was always like storylines, and that's what we're getting in this one. I wanted to ask you, what were your first thoughts of Cowboys 49ers? Because last week we didn't know. It could have been Minnesota. It could have been Tampa. It could have been the Cowboys. What are your thoughts?
My first thoughts was I'm excited, because if you're a tenured Niner fan, you know the rivalry. You've lived this. You've been on both sides of it. You've been on, the sweet victory and then the horrible losses. Where it hurts. You hate losing to the Cowboys. They're one of our main rivals. Outside of Seattle's kind of like a new rivalry type thing. But the Cowboys is just. We've been going back and forth, before the Patriots, the Super Bowls, it was the Niners, it was Cowboys. Those are the two teams winning Super Bowls. So I'm super excited for the matchup. I didn't think it would be the Cowboys.
Right.
Honestly, I thought we would get Minnesota. I thought they would take care of business against the Giants. Shout out to the Giants for taking care of business. They made it a little bit harder on us, because we knew Minnesota was ripe for the taking.
Yeah, we'd have scored 50 on Minnesota.
It would have been ugly.
Every time I seen Kendricks covering a running back out of the backfield, I'm just like, that could have been McCaffrey. That could have been it.
I did to see Kirk Cousins, needed a first down and he throws it 3 to 5 yards.
Yeah.
I'd have loved to play that. To play that, but we get the Cowboys. I'm excited. They're probably the toughest matchup we could have got in this next round. They present, problems with itself that I feel like the Niners could handle. Like I said, in the NFC, I don't see any issues, but the Cowboys do have their own unique problems. So I expect this to do a huge number of views-wise and ratings-wise, but I'm excited for the matchup, man. I can't wait for Sunday.
Yeah, these are two great fan bases. Both have a lot of appreciation for their history, but also a want to get back on top. The Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995. The 49ers 1994.
Yeah.
Dallas hasn't been to a divisional round playoff game or won a divisional round playoff game since 1995. So last time they won a Super Bowl. So the 49ers are farther along, right? We had 2012, 2019. We've had some success last year. We're in the NFC Championship game. Cowboy fans are desperate for that.
Yeah.
They have a good football team. They have a lot of really talented players. The first thing I thought was, okay, it's about to get explosive. Let's take the gloves off. This is about to get nasty because I think both these teams are going to really want it and both have the players to make something happen. So I was excited about this matchup. Would I have preferred Minnesota? Yeah, of course. Bring on the skull. We ain't worried about that. But, the Cowboys present a tougher matchup. But in the grand scheme of things, you have to beat whoever's in the playoffs anyways. If you want to be the best, you have to take out the best. And the 49ers have to do it with the Cowboys. They still have the potential to do so.
Yeah, I agree. This is, like I said, this is the toughest matchup we could have gotten the next round. I would have loved to see Brady because they were ripe for the taking, just like Minnesota.
Bosa right now sacked him 4 times.
And we already seen what that matchup looked like earlier in the year. So, they present a lot of problems that we're going to dive into.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with Pollard. Tony Pollard in that running game. I don't know what your feelings are about Zeke Elliott. I've been going back and watching some of the film of Zeke. To me, Zeke has extremely fallen off, but Tony Pollard has come on the scene and been dynamic, explosive. None of that Skip Bayless. He's better than Christian McCaffrey crud.
Goodness.
But Pollard's a nice player. But a lot of people forget, Tony Pollard was on the Dallas Cowboys last year. He played against the San Francisco 49ers. He did not have huge plays. Did he have an explosive run? Of course he did. He's that kind of player. But what do you think of it? Can Dallas get this run game going against this 49ers defense that only gives up 77 yards per game?
I don't think so. The Niners up front, you look at our front seven, they're just too big, too strong, too dominant. I like Tony Pollard. Personally, I think he's the best running back in Dallas, and he's been their best running back for a few years now.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke he's a hell of a running back. He's just, at the end of his run. But Tony Pollard, he presents a lot of problems. The guy he's shifty, small guy that he hits a hole hard.
Yeah.
He's somebody we definitely have to pay attention to and shut him down quickly. Because, I don't really see him as a game breaker, somebody that's going to put the game on his back and completely win the game like a Christian McCaffrey or like a Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb. I don't see him as that type of running back. But is he a problem? Is he a weapon? Is he somebody that, you have to keep an eye on because he can't hurt you? Yes. So... but this Niner, like I said, this Niner front seven, from the linebackers to our front seven being completely healthy, like I don't see him being too much of a thorn on our side.
Yeah, and Jason Peters, their offensive lineman, he got hurt, so he's probably going to be out for this game, and they're going to be going with Tyler Smith. So they're going to have the Smiths. One thing that's interesting is Tyron Smith plays right tackle now. He was left tackle for a long time, but he plays next to Zach Martin. That's a nice right side of the line. Now, is Tyron Smith still the dominant player he was? No, he's not. Can him and Zach Martin do some things in the run game? Yeah. But I think Smith is better in the pass game than he is the run game at this point in his career. Martin is still someone you have to worry about, but he's probably going to line up against Eric Armstead. And Armstead is one of the best against, run blocking in the entire league. I think that's going to be an issue. But also, what is Tony Pollard really made to do? He's made to stretch the edge. He's made to get after you, on the edges with the outside zone, and also with, with these toss sweeps and cracks and all that. 49ers linebackers are fast. They run sideline to sideline. Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, they can cover you sideline to sideline. And they have two edge defenders in Samson Ebukam and Nick Bosa that turn everything in. They do a really good job. Did the 49ers get caught on one against Seattle? Yeah. So Ebukam is supposed to stunt inside. Dre Greenlaw has outside contain. Savor the flavor because it won't happen again. They make a mistake, they're going to move on. But I think the 49ers defense is well equipped to handle what Tony Pollard does. I think if they had a prime, healthy Zeke where they could run the ball up the middle and absolutely try to, get the 49ers moving backwards in a traditional run game, they would be more successful. I just don't think they can do it with a back like Tony Pollard.
I agree. I think they're going to have a hard time running the ball. Like I said, the Niners defense has been doing this all year.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the numbers, no running backs really had success against this Niner front. And I mean, we've had guys in and out, so the Niners know they got to stop. The first thing they got to do is stop the run game, because you stop the running game, you make the Dallas Cowboys one-dimensional, and then you can do what you love to do. Pin your ears back and go get after the quarterback and force Dak to make mistakes.
Yep.
Dak looked amazing last week. He looked like the best quarterback in the league. But he had no pressure all game.
Yeah.
He had plenty of time. He had plenty of time to make decisions to run and throw to wide open guys. Unfortunately, this is not the Tampa D. You got to deal with 3 layers of football. That front 7, that front 4, they're going to be coming after you. They're going to be bearing down on you. Then you got those 3 linebackers, the most athletic linebackers in the league. And then you got the secondary as well, which they're kind of struggling right now. But I fully expect them to step it up and play better this week.
Yeah, they're ball hawks. Dak Prescott throws more interceptions than any quarterback in the league, and the 49ers create more interceptions than any team in the league. Their defense has intercepted passes 17 times. Dak has put 14 in harm's way. So, and that's with him missing football games. He led everybody in interceptions, and he missed football games this year. I think that the 49ers have some opportunities to make plays in the secondary, and so far they've proven to be ball hawks. Have they gotten beaten in coverage? Yes. But they usually walk away, right? You have Gibson coming away with interceptions. Deommodore Lenoir against Seattle coming away with an interception. They make plays, and Dak Prescott's probably going to put a ball in harm's way, and the 49ers need to be able to make a play on it. And that's all the while they have to be able to get this run game going, because if the 49ers get a stop with 7, or even if they have to bring 8, but they're able to stop the run game consistently, that means no more play action. That means they're probably playing from behind. And that means they're going to have to spread it out. And I think that's where the 49ers would have tremendous success against the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys would love to go 2 tight ends, but how do you go 2 tight ends if you can't get the running game going with 2 tight ends?
Right.
I think it's going to be fun. Let's flip it to the other side. 49ers run game, because the Dallas Cowboys give up 129 yards per game. Most of the times that they were beat this year, it was a balanced offensive attack. When it was, all those teams went for over 130 yards rushing against them at least. If you had big games, Christian McCaffrey looked good against Seattle. They have Elijah Mitchell. He's another weekend. They have Deebo Samuel that they can use. You see him have some carries as well. Are the Cowboys going to be able to stop this 49ers running game?
I don't think so. I mean, if you haven't fixed this all year, I mean, this is a problem that you've been dealing with all year. I mean, you are what you are.
Yep.
And the Cowboys, they have a problem stopping the run. And I mean, this is the wrong team to play when you have run issues. This is what the Niners want to do. The Niners want to line up, bully you, play smash mouth football, and that's what's going to happen on Sunday. I mean, we've seen how this played out last year.
Yep.
And in the Niners, we didn't have Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo ran all over him. We had a wide receiver running all over him, and so you insert Christian McCaffrey this year, and it's going to be much of the same things, you know, and I just don't think this Cowboy team is equipped to handle it. I mean, they have a great front four getting after the quarterback.
They do.
You know, they have one of the best front four in the league, and if you're dominant in a run game where you don't have to drop back and pass, then you're able to, you know, play action pass off the run. With the run is killing them. They're going to have problems. You know, I can't see this Cowboy team stopping this Niner offense with a Christian McCaffrey if they've been having this problem all year.
Yeah, Dan Quinn, you know, defensive coordinator, he understands what Kyle Shanahan wants to do on offense.
Yeah.
But as much as Kyle Shanahan, will be understood by Dan Quinn, he's going to understand Dan Quinn even more. Dan Quinn is the one that gave him, you know, the keys to understand what Seattle's offense was about. That cover three, he knew how to break it. And now you're getting a cover three matchup style zone from Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn's going to come up and try to take away the 49ers run game early. I think he's going to bring up Micah Parsons on one side. I think he's going to bring up Anthony Barr on the other side. And I think they're going to try to load up and stop the 49ers run game and make Brock Purdy beat him. Problem is, be careful what you wish for, because if Brock starts completing passes early in the game, getting Deebo Samuel the ball and screen passes, which were wildly successful in the playoff game last year, those plays that will open up the run game, and then the 49ers can't be stopped. Because once you have to go away from it, I think the edge rushers present opportunities for the 49ers to be able to run the ball off tackle. We've seen the Christian McCaffrey 68-yard run last week. That is by kicking that edge rusher out, and that was Bruce Irvin. He's pretty good against the run. Micah Parsons, not as good. You know, Anthony Barr, not as good. Get those guys moving and then cut it up inside. They have Van Der Esch. I like Van Der Esch. But, you know, are they going to be able to play the run fits as good as they should? I think they're more predicated on getting after you with the pass. So early success and early downs is going to make third and manageables, which are going to pretty much neutralize the pass rush. But it all is predicated on early completions. And then when the opportunities come, run that football down their throat.
I agree. This is a very aggressive Cowboys defense.
Yep.
As we've seen last year. And I mean, what was killing them last year, the double moves was just, it was open all game.
Yeah, Diggs is still. Where's IU? Where he at?
It was killing them all game. And I mean, this is the thing is we had Jimmy G last year.
Yep.
And Jimmy G didn't have his best game against the Cowboys last year.
No, he had the thumb, and then he hurt his shoulder in the first half of the game.
Right. And the Niners, we were on the road, winning the Arlington and won the game. I mean, this is a completely different Niner team they're seeing. I mean, they're seeing a quarterback playing at the top of his game and a running back that's playing at an MVP level that's not a Pro Bowler, which is crazy. And
it's ridiculous.
Pollard is a Pro Bowler, which is, it just baffles my mind. But this is a completely different team they're seeing. So, honestly, Dan Quinn he's a great defensive coordinator. You know,
I like him.
He's Mr. 28-30. I know a lot of people like to put that on Shanahan, but you know, Dan Quinn gets a part of that. But
Dan Quinn should get all of that. When you're 28-3 and you're a defensive-minded head coach, that's on you in the defense. 28 points is enough to win any game as an offensive coach.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that. But this is a completely different Niner team that they're going to see. So I think they'll have problems all day.
Yeah, I do. And, you know, last year, since we're talking about last year a little bit in that run game, I went back and watched the game. Deebo Samuel was in the backfield early on. Then partway through that first drive, Elijah Mitchell came in, and he started gashing them up the middle. And then eventually he had the outside play where he scored the touchdown. And Brandon Ayuk blocks Micah Parsons and seals the edge. That's one of the reasons that I believe the 49ers have an advantage on the edge. Has Parsons improved from that? Yes. He's stronger against, you know, the edge plays, yes. But it'll be McGlinchey. It won't be Tom Compton. And it'll be, you know, a healthy Trent Williams. To me, they're going to get some movement up front. It's going to be fun on the edges, and I think they can get the run game going. Plus, last year you only had to worry about where Deebo is. Now you have to worry about where number 23 is, because locating 19 isn't enough this season. You have to locate 23, and while you're focused on that, 85 is probably over the middle, wide open. It's going to be a fun one.
Let's talk problems.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the Cowboys' weapons, because they do have a lot of weapons. You know, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Michael Gallup. They have talent. You know what I mean? It's not like they're void of ability to make plays. They got, you know, Dalton Schultz. He had a really good game against Tampa Bay. So, Warren, are you concerned about the Cowboys' weapons against this 49ers secondary? Charvarius Ward just had a tough outing against DK. What are your thoughts on this?
When I first heard of the matchup, I did get a little nervous. I did get a little nervous of what the Cowboys presents. But now how the week has gone on a little bit, I'm really looking at their weapons. I'm looking at what they got at receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback. I'm not too afraid. I'm not too afraid of this team. Honestly, I feel like we had a tougher task last week with Lockett and Metcalf. I think they present more problems than what you'll get from CeeDee Lamb and Gallup.
Yeah.
Their number 3 receiver is
Noah Brown, and then they've been playing a lot of Ty too.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton, who they picked up later towards the end of the season. So, what they present at wide receiver, I don't think they present the same issues that Seattle presented. And I mean, as you can see, I mean, DK Metcalf he's a freak, and Mooney Ward has been playing lights out this year. He gave up one big play. I can't see CeeDee Lamb get on the top of any of our corners like that. Lenore, to me, had one of his best games. One of the best games of his career. Like, the guy played lights out, and that's what you want to see from him. We know Mooney Ward, what he's capable of. I fully expect him to bounce back, and we just got to have that continued play with from Lenore. So, as I look at the weapons, I really don't see a problem. To me, Pollard, like I said, we said earlier, Pollard presents his own problems. But if you shut down the run like you've done all year and you make this team one-dimensional, how do they beat you? Where you start to look for options, you're just like, where does this team scare you where they can beat you? Their quarterback is not Dak Prescott. To me, he's not dynamic enough on his own to beat you. He needs help from his weapons around him. I don't think he's that type of quarterback. He just go out there, make all the plays, and win the game like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen. And you put pressure on him, you force him to make mistakes. Like you said, he leads the league in interceptions.
Yeah.
He's going to give you the ball back. So, like I said, as the week goes on, I continue to look at these weapons. I'm not afraid of what they present.
Yeah, I think they got talented guys. Last year, CeeDee Lamb had 1 catch against the 49ers. And that was a big talk all week. You got to stop CeeDee Lamb. You got to stop Amari Cooper. There's no Amari Cooper this time. And Amari Cooper's the one that had big plays against the 49ers last year, getting matched up in that slot against K'Wan Williams and having the big touchdown over the top. That is a huge loss for them. I mean, is Gallup still a good player and Lamb? Yeah. But I don't think they present the same problems that you got from DK Metcalf. No. Metcalf is an absolute freak on those vertical routes, getting downfield with a huge size to be able to get physical with a Charvarius Ward. What is Ward's advantage normally? His physicality. He's going to be able to body CeeDee Lamb. He's going to be able to body Michael Gallup. I just think he's going to be playing at a high level. Plus, he was originally a Dallas Cowboy, and he was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to be a little bit heated that he was traded for a backup offensive lineman. So don't think he's not showing up in a big way. And I think part of the success of the Cowboys in the Tampa Bay game was playing on third and short, third and medium. They did a really good job on first and second down of making it convertible on third down. If the 49ers can force 3rd and 7 through 3rd and 12 like the Washington Commanders did in Week 18, you can get off the field against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, and you can slow up this offense and force them to have to punt.
Yeah, I agree. To me, in this game, the game plan is if you shut down Pollard, it's downhill.
Yeah.
It's downhill from there. CeeDee Lamb is a phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal talent. Is he the type of receiver that could dominate a game, take over a game by himself? Absolutely not. Is he going to be a problem? He does present his own problems, but it's not something that's overwhelming to where it's like a Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
He's a game changer. He'll take over the game. I think the Niners, like I said, as the week go on, I don't really see a problem, man. I mean, as long as we keep Dak in the pocket, stop him from hurting us with his legs, especially on those third down plays, and you stop the run, we're playing in the championship game.
Yeah. I think you're right. Stop the run, keep Dak in the pocket, and limit third down success.
Right.
I think you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one. And let's flip it to the other side, Warren. Let's talk 49ers weapons, because the 49ers have plenty of weapons on offense as well. And let's talk about them versus the Cowboys secondary, because it's an interesting Cowboys secondary. They have some, unnamed guys too, like Deron Bland. Deron Bland was playing nickel. Now he's playing on the outside. They were playing Israel Mukuamu at nickel. Mukuamu, 6'4", over 200 pounds, out of South Carolina, was a player that I really like coming out of the draft. But they've been playing him as a safety early on, but now he's playing in the nickel. It's an interesting matchup. Now, one thing I want to preface this with, the 49ers last year had plenty of talent on offense, right? Juwan Jennings had a good game. Brandon Ayuk had a good game. Tebow had a good game. Now they have Christian McCaffrey to add to that. How do the Cowboys secondary, and you could see the names, how do they, it's not just Diggs, right? But how do they stop this 49ers weaponry that they have on offense?
I don't think you can. And I mean, it's not, as Niner fans, it's not being biased. It's just, it's looking at what the Niners unveil. It's how do you match up against it? It's you have so many weapons across the board. It's almost not fair, and I just don't see there's a way the Cowboys could come up with a defensive game plan to stop everybody. I mean, I guess if you're Dan Quinn, you game plan to stop Christian McCaffrey, or you game plan to take away Debo. But I mean, you're still going to be hurt by Brandon Ayuk. You're going to be hurt by Elijah Mitchell or Kittle or Juszczyk. It's just, there's too much. There's just too much to handle at once. It's going to be interesting to see what the Cowboys come up with. But at the end of the day, the Niners just have too many weapons. And what's so creative is the Niners can use them in so many different ways. Like George Kittle is a weapon blocking and receiving, and when this week, when you're going up against I think it's Dexter Lawrence and DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, you have a Juszczyk, you have a George Kittle that could help you out with that.
Yeah.
And then it's just, you just have so many ways for Shanahan to play with the pieces to set this offense up for success. It's just, I see no way the Cowboys can stop this offense.
Yeah, during Kyle Shanahan's presser, he said, "It's pick your poison." I was surprised he said it, because normally you don't want to give anything, but he's right. It is pick your poison. And the thing is last year it was a little bit easier to figure out these matchups. If Brandon Ayuk is out there, you can put Diggs on him because most of the time Debo was doing something in the backfield, and you could kind of, if he wasn't, you could bracket coverage him with a couple of guys. Here's where the defense is in a predicament. If the 49ers come out in a set that includes Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey, you have to stay in your base 4-3 set. That means you have Anthony Barr in there and Micah Parsons there playing linebacker. If all of a sudden you go to empty, is Micah Parsons now in coverage on Kyle Juszczyk or Christian McCaffrey? Is Anthony Barr now on coverage on one of those guys? Those are extreme mismatches. I know Micah Parsons is a great athlete, but think about what I just said. He's now in coverage, and if he's in coverage because of his athleticism, that means he's not rushing the passer. If the Cowboys decide, you know what, we don't like that matchup for us, we're going to be in nickel. We're going to bring in Israel Mukuamu at 6'4", 200 pounds. Great. Now I'm going to stay in the same set, and I'm going to run it right down your throat, right at Israel Mukuamu, and I'm going to put George Kittle to block him or Juwan Jennings. It creates mismatches. So that's one of the problems I have with Dallas's defense is that linebacker room. They're great names. Van Der Esch, Anthony Barr, Micah Parsons. It sounds great. But in traditional scheme, it doesn't sound as good as far as run stopping. They're not Greenlaw. They're not Fred. And that's why they give up 129 yards rushing, because they're not built for it. They're built to be edge guys coming off the corner and doing things in the pass rush. I think that's where Kyle Shanahan has his success, like you kind of mentioned, was those personnel groupings and those matchups. And I think that's going to be a problem. And if you go back and watch last year, Juwan Jennings in the slot absolutely ate the Cowboys alive.
Right.
And he's still here.
Right.
And that's not including all the other weapons. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. And because they could go 5 receivers and all of a sudden motion Debo to the backfield for a single back look. Oh, that's great. Now you got all the extra, safeties and corners on the field. Donovan Wilson's over here. Israel Okwamu's over here. And Debo runs them over.
Yeah.
It's really tough sledding for that defense.
Yeah, if your defensive coordinator, it's headaches. This is the type of offense that keeps you up at night, and I mean, I don't envy being Dan Quinn this week. I mean, like, you got to come up with the key to stop this offense. And to me, there's no possible way, I mean, they have some special talent over there. I mean, like you said, Michael Parsons, he's a special talent.
He is.
I mean, he's one of the best ends. He's up for Defensive Player of the Year. But when you're up against an offense that's just this multiple and they can hurt you in so many different type of ways, you neutralize that type of player. And you look into the type of game he had last year in the playoffs against the Niners, he was really a no-show.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what the Niners defense does. I mean, offense does is they don't allow one player to take over the game. They don't allow one player to dominate the game because you don't know where the play's going. You don't know who's hurting you. And it's just, you could get hurt from so many different ways. And as a defensive player playing the Niners, your mind is always in conflict. And that's where Shanahan has you. Once you're in conflict, it's game over. You're a step too late.
You're right. And, that's why getting the run game is so important at some point. It doesn't have to be early. If they're taking away the run, by their formations and you have an aggressive style and you can throw the ball, which the 49ers have been willing to do and have done. But once you get to that run game, that's when defenders can't rush the quarterback at the same level they used to. Number one, they're getting tired from hanging on these 300-pound guys as they're getting dragged. Number two, you just don't know what's coming. If you know it's a pass play, you can get after the quarterback. Your first step can be great. But you come upfield too fast on the 49ers. Next thing you know, they ran you upfield. They pulled Kyle Juszczyk through. He lit up a linebacker, and Christian McCaffrey scampering downfield for a huge play. They just are absolute problems. Another problem, though, for the Cowboys is kicking. I want to talk about Robbie Gould versus Brett Maher because Robbie Gould, perfect in the postseason. No missed field goals, no missed extra points. Maher, not so much. Wide right, wide left, back to wide right, then finally one down the middle. The Cowboys are electing to go with him, even though they did bring Vizcaino onto their practice squad, but they said they're going to stay with Brett Maher. What are your thoughts on what happened in that Tampa Bay game, and do you think Robbie Gould presents an advantage for the 49ers against the Cowboys?
That was an epic debacle if I ever seen it. I've watched a lot of football in my day. Mm-hmm. I've never seen something like that. I've never seen a guy go out there and miss 4 extra points. And it really proves to the point where people always say is kickers are head cases. I feel like I could have went out there and made the extra point. I could have kicked the extra point and made it. I sympathize with Dak when Dak was like, man, let's just go for 2. Yeah, I mean, when he was having a bad day. I completely think this is in the Niners' favor. I think if you're the Niners, I mean, and you see Meyer trotting out there for an extra point or to add 3 points on their board, that's a win. Especially outdoors in the Bay Area, where you're dealing with the wind and stuff like that. You're dealing with the environment. I think it's a win, because this guy is clearly in his head right now. He's not at the top of his game, and I can't believe the Cowboys are even. They have him again for this week. With the magnitude of this game, I would hire somebody off the street. Because you can't afford to miss 4 extra points against the Niners.
Yeah,
we're not Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. I mean, 14 points. They had no running game. It was an easy game for the Cowboys. All they had to do was worry about the passing game from Tampa. This is a whole nother beast you're dealing with. So you can't have those type of miscues from your kicker. It's going to hurt you. So I completely see the advantage in Niners' favor.
Yeah, it's quicksand, right? You get the yips, and then all of a sudden everything is a struggle. The reason that this is, I think, should be easy for 49er fans to understand is 2012. David Akers had such a great year in 2011, made everything. And then in 2012, he struggled. He started missing, and the 49ers flirted around with potentially going with a different kicker. They stayed with Akers. But what it did was it made it hard for Jim Harbaugh, because Harbaugh in 2011 would play for a field goal, play with a great defense all the time. Yeah. No issues. What happened is all of a sudden you get into there, oh, wait, we're a 45 to 35-yard field goal, but we have Akers, or in this case, we have Maher. What are we going to do? And you've seen the Cowboys be willing to go for it on 4th and 6. That works against Tampa Bay. Congratulations. Can you do that consistently against a 49ers defense? And all of a sudden you went from putting positive points on the board to giving the football back to the 49ers because of a defensive stop. Those are going to be real problems for Mike McCarthy to have to think about in this game. He's going to call plays differently, which means he could be more aggressive and cause problems. Truly. It's going to change. It could fundamentally change the game. And if Maher comes in his first opportunity to kick a field goal, he misses. I wouldn't say anything to that guy if I'm a 49er fan other than left, right, right. That's all I would say to him the whole game. Just remind him, because it will be absolutely in his head. And that could be a real problem for the Cowboys. Special teams is a big part of this game, complimentary football. 49ers know what they're going to get from Robbie Gould. We don't know what we're getting from Brett Maher for the Cowboys.
No, and I think you bring up a great point where Carty's going to go into this game coaching probably different, especially seeing the performance that his kicker put on last week. You might have to be more aggressive in certain situations, and that could change the game.
Yep.
You know, that's going to be a big part and a big storyline to watch of this game. I think the special teams player to pay attention to is Turpin, though.
Yeah.
Turpin is a guy that, you know, the Niners have to keep an eye on. You know, he's a special kick returner. That guy could break the game open. He could absolutely hurt you. I mean, he has elite speed, you know, and thankfully our special teams has been much better than last year. You know, they have improved from what we was last year. Last year we were bad in special teams, but we actually won a playoff game with special teams. Maybe that'll happen this week. We'll see. But yeah, just taking a little bit of the spotlight off of Meyer, but Turpin is somebody to pay attention to this game. He could play a huge role in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right? And some of the return games have had success against the 49ers, been able to get free, and he's one of those guys, if he gets free, he's gone. Last year, the Cowboys went with Tony Pollard doing all the return game, and he had a couple, really good returns. I think that I'm hopeful that Snyder's going to have a game plan to just kick the ball out of the end zone.
Absolutely.
Let Dak and them start at the 25 and just go from there. I know you want to pin them back, keep them at the 20 or under. And they had some success with that against the Seahawks, but not consistent success. I don't know why you fool around with it. We'll see what they end up doing, but you're right. Turpin could be a real problem for the 49ers with his speed. He could also see a little bit of offensive time, too, with some fly sweeps and things like that. He's an explosive player. So good call by you bringing up Turpin. That was a nice one. What is your biggest concern for the 49ers this week against the Dallas Cowboys?
My biggest concern, one, is who we just spoke about was Turpin. I believe field position is going to be huge, and if they could get, anytime you can get points from special teams in a positive light, that's big.
Yeah.
Special teams, we've seen it. They've won Super Bowls. They can break the game open. So he's one of my worries for this game. Another one of my worries for this game is Dak's legs. It's just when a quarterback has the ability to run, and pick up those third and longs, 3rd and 8, it's a backbreaker to the defense. When you get him in third down, you want to get him off the field, and these playoff games, like I said earlier, every possession is critical.
Right.
And we seen last week against Tampa Bay, Dak, he was running, he picked up critical first downs with his feet. We seen him last year, at the end of the game. He ran up the middle of the field. Thankfully he did, and he didn't slide early enough, but he put his team in a position to win the game. If they had a little bit more time, they would try to kick a field goal to win the game. So, controlling Dak and his feet, we have to stay disciplined in our rush lanes. We can't let Dak, kill us on third down and pick up them crucial first downs, because at the end of the game, that could be the reason why we end up losing this game. So that's the main thing to me is keeping control of Turpin and special teams, like you said, going into it with a game plan, kicking it out of bounds, keeping the ball out of his hand.
Right.
Because he could be a total game breaker. And Dak Prescott, keeping him corralled in the pocket.
Yeah, I'm with you on Dak Prescott staying in the pocket. I think that is a huge concern for the San Francisco 49ers, because I think that is the difference between third down conversions and non-third down conversions. And if you can keep Dallas anywhere between 30 and 35% in their third down conversions, I think you're going to get off the field a lot for the 49ers defense, and you're going to give Brock Purdy and this explosive offense more opportunities to be able to score. And when it comes down to it, you just want to keep Dallas's defense on the field and keep their offense off the field. If they can't score, they can't win, and the 49ers can go with a ball control style offense at some points. I don't think they're too explosive to just be ball control at this point. I don't think we're going to see 6 passes like we've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs before. But I think you're right. I think keeping Dak in the pocket is a very important way to handle this. And I think they're going to do that. And let's remember, Nick Bosa did not play most of that game last year, coming out with the concussion. So the 49ers, are going to have Nick Bosa the whole time. Charles Omenihu, who played really well in that game. He's motivated. He's from Texas. So he's going to be highly motivated. Let's see if the 49ers can get after him. If they can and they can corral him, that concern can turn into a huge advantage. But what is the big advantage for the 49ers, the biggest one, against the Cowboys?
I think the biggest advantage is stopping the run. I mean, like we said earlier, this is what the Niners have done all year.
Right.
This is what the Niners specialize in, is stopping the run. And no running back up to this point has had success against this defense. So I going into this game, I think that's one of our biggest advantages is our ability to make each team that we play one dimensional. And I fully expect that to happen again this Sunday. And then looking at the offensive side of the ball, it's just like we say every week, it's just being so multiple.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say enough about this acquisition of Christian McCaffrey. It's like he's unleashed offense with Brock Purdy. It's we got the right pieces at the right time. And so it's a lot for other teams to handle. And this is the Shanahan we want. We want the Shanahan that's just has so many different options and creative and getting guys wide open, running downfield, and having a quarterback that is able to navigate it and hit the open guy and make the offense progress. So I think both sides of the ball is clicking right now. So I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to have a hard time dealing pretty much with both sides of the ball, offense and defense.
Yeah, I think the 49ers' biggest advantage is their personnel matchups against the Dallas Cowboys. I think, Trayvon Diggs is a ball hawk. He likes to get, physical and body people, and Brandon Ayuk doesn't allow people to do that. And then in other areas, they have Deron Bland. It's gonna be a mismatch for him if he gets on Brandon Ayuk too. So I don't know if they have the sum of parts. We talked about the linebacker room earlier going against running backs and George Kittle. That's an issue. Then the secondary having to cover the other wide receivers that aren't named Brandon Ayuk, and that Brandon Ayuk could be enough of a problem. I just think there's some interesting matchups that go the 49ers way. And like you brought up, all the while, these personnel groupings that Kyle can put together, the personnel he can make Dallas play by what he wants to do on offense, it's going to completely dictate the flow. It's going to dictate how exactly Dan Quinn calls defense. Dan Quinn will not be able to be the aggressor in this football game. Kyle Shanahan is going to take a stranglehold on the momentum, the flow, everything in this game. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Just when you think the 49ers are figured out, all of a sudden he finds another way to do something. And this is one of those games when all eyes are on everybody else and Kyle Juszczyk goes 3 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. It's just one of those freak things. Because Kyle can do whatever he wants. He has too many weapons.
Way too many.
And I think that's going to be one of the problems for the Cowboys. How do you simultaneously stop the 49ers run game while covering all these weapons? I just want to see Christian McCaffrey one-on-one with Vander Esch or Anthony Barr. If that happens, big win for the 49ers.
No, you brought up a good point, man. It's when you allow Shanahan to dictate pace, I mean, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, with this many weapons, I mean, good luck. I mean, I could get it if we were the Green Bay Packers and we're at the lack of weapons, we don't have the weapons to unveil. I mean, you have to scheme a little bit more, but I mean, just a simple running Christian McCaffrey out on an out route or something or a wheel route. The attention he draws from the defense is it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what the Cowboys have to deal with every single play. And like I said earlier, when you're a defensive player playing against the Niners and you're worried about this, you're worried about that, you're in total conflict and you don't know where it's coming. It's gonna be bad for the Cowboys.
It's going to be tough. If I'm the Cowboys, I hope I win the toss and I'm able to defer because the 49ers coming out in the second half has been absolutely spectacular. But now, Warren, it's come to that time. Divisional matchup, 49ers versus Cowboys at Levi Stadium, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. This is what we're waiting for. Score prediction, what you got?
I'm going to give the Cowboys a little bit of respect. I think they'll come in. And play well. I think they'll play well. Do I think they'll win the game? No, I don't. I think they'll put up 21 points.
Ooh, nice.
I think the Cowboys put up 21. I think Meyer makes 3 extra points. He makes 3 extra points this week.
That might be a bold prediction.
But I have the Niners putting up 30. So I have it 30-21 San Francisco.
A 9-point victory. I'll take it. I'll take any victory because I want to see the 49ers playing in the NFC Championship game. That will be the early game on Sunday, the 29th. That one will be at, I believe it's 12 or 12:30 Pacific time. So that's where the 49ers are going to be slotted. I think this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to hold my prediction until the game preview show, which I'll be doing on Friday. So everyone needs to come through it and check out the game preview show on Friday. I'm excited about it. I think this is one of those cool matchups between two good football teams. This is what you want in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
It's got everything you want. The big time stars. Everybody knows that these are two of the better teams. They've been talking about these two defenses for a while. This thing sells itself. Last year, one of the most watched football games of the entire year. This one will be nothing different. It's going to be spectacular, and I think the 49ers are going to walk away with a win in this, and they'll be headed to the NFC Championship. And who will they play? We'll be Eagles. We'll be Giants.
We'll see. But I'm excited for this, man. I mean, one of my past favorite 49er games is when T.O. ran into the middle of the field and stood at the star. I know Cowboy fans hate that.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. As a Niner fan, you love that moment. So, I mean, to see these two teams, these two uniforms alone, it's therapy for football fans. So enjoy the game. Like I said, I think it's going to be a high number. Tons of people are going to watch the game, but it's going to go the Niners' way, though.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Lots of subscriptions coming recently. Lots more content coming out all week. Warren, a great episode. Hopefully next week we're back celebrating a 49er win and talking NFC Championship. I can't believe we're already to that point of the season. And then it's one game to get to the Super Bowl. Everything you got, it'll be somebody from the NFC East that they're going to have to play and go through. Gigantes or Eagles, who knows? But I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on the other side too. Philly and the Giants. I can't believe there's 3 NFC East teams left. Who would have thought?
It's crazy. All right, everyone. We'll have a good one. I know we're going to enjoy the game, and if you come after the game, join the reaction show. But until next time, we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.